Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the show where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter because, as we know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we're here today with one of our Fresh Starts experts and talking about something that's really important and yet never talked about. So we're going to let Anna introduce herself. Anna, who are you?
Hi, I'm Anna Howerton. I'm based in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I spend a lot of time in Orange County, California, as well as my new husband is from there. And so we spend a lot of time there as well. But I am a relationship coach. So I help individuals who either are married and are just really struggling. They're at a crisis point in their relationship or marriage where something's got to change. Something has to be different to keep moving forward in the relationship and in the marriage. So I work with a lot of people who are considering, contemplating divorce, who are going through a divorce, who are on the other side of divorce, learning how to co-parent and pick themselves up again and start new, start fresh, and also learning how to co-parent, date after divorce. That's a huge thing for a lot of people. If you haven't dated in 20 years, that's a big deal to start over in today's day and age where all of us, when we were, young, there was no such thing as a dating app. So I kind of help people at many different stages throughout pre, during, and after divorce. I coach individuals and couples, in this very acute period of their life. So I'm a coach for that reason because it's high touch support, and I'm not a therapist. My husband's actually a licensed marriage and family therapist, but I'm not trying to be with someone for years and years. I want to help you in this distinct period of trauma or change or transition.
I love that. So one of the reasons we love our experts so much is that not only do you bring your expertise to the table, but everybody has their real life experience that you bring to the table too. So when we were talking the other day, we talked about something that was going on in your real life that I thought would be really interesting to talk about, because if it's happening to one person, it's happening to many people. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about what we're going to talk about today?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. One of the things my clients love about working with me that they've said explicitly is that I've been through divorce. So I've been through the contemplation, through the actual divorce, and then the dating after divorce piece. And so I think that is hugely helpful to engage with someone who's been through it and has lived it. And it is funny. I'm 5 or 6 years out now, and it's crazy how I'm still experiencing all the turmoil that can come and all the different cast of characters of, if you have a new partner, their ex, if your ex's new partner. And so, it is interesting that some of this is, it's a long game, like when it's actually, the actual separation divorce can be very painful. And that's a lot of transition. But so much of this, you're gearing up, depending almost specifically on your kids' ages, how long you've got to pony up for to engage with a different cast of characters that you maybe weren't planning on engaging with or didn't think about for your life. And so, recently in the last couple of weeks, I stumbled upon, through some online musings of different people, I was confused why people were talking about me online in a way that I didn't understand the source, or I was like, what is this? Like, why are these people saying this? And how did they even find out about me? Because it was so clearly a lot of what I do and how I show up online. As you know, Olivia, I'm trying to target people who are thinking about divorce, going through it. I'm trying to serve and show up for people who are in marital crisis, divorce crisis.
Yep.
So when I caught wind of people online talking about me in ways that sort of had nothing to do with what my normal stuff is, and instead it was attacks on me and my co-parenting, I was like, this is confusing. I usually get positive feedback about how I'm co-parenting.
Right.
And so then I dug a little deeper and I realized that my ex-husband's girlfriend of a year and a half now went on a fairly public podcast about dating, like targeting millennials. And, she essentially, it's basically the equivalent of like if we were in middle school and she had walked down the hall and like talked shit about me for like 5 minutes straight and I was standing behind her the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily she is very embarrassed, because she spoke very ill of me and of my ex, which is also funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like essentially like, attacking our dynamic of co-parenting because we have been pretty intentional about consciously uncoupling and trying to still be a family, even though mom and dad are no longer a couple. And I know that is not possible for everyone and that is not everyone's reality, but we've been able to successfully, work towards that goal for the
Yeah.
last 5 years. And she is this new person coming in. And from what
Yeah.
I understood, she was fine with it. But now hearing this podcast and her kind of airing out, writing in, and then of course, having podcasters respond, it was all very negative, very unkind. And then now there's some like internet musings about it. So it was a bit shocking.
Yeah, I would say so. I have a couple questions for you. How did you stumble upon this in the first place?
I was searching some things that my husband Mark and I do some stuff together.
Okay.
And so I was just searching online, like our names and like, did we put this video on YouTube? Like, we like to do this and da da da. And I literally just came across it and I was like, what is this? Like, why is my name showing up here? Because I don't even know about this podcast. Like, I don't even know anything about I was so confused. And it was actually a little bit of like internet sleuthing for me to like figure out and then find the episode on my phone, listen to it in shock, and then think, okay, now what do I do with this?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so interesting. And I think this brings up so many points too about when you are, whether it's a positive or negative co-parenting relationship or neutral, right? Whatever the
Hmm.
co-parenting relationship it is, it's only the two of you co-parenting,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And often there are other people, in my situation, mother-in-laws, right?
Hmm.
Sisters, other people that will have a lot to say, right, about that co-parenting relationship that don't
Hmm.
understand the children, who the
Right.
two of you are, what the needs are of the family. And that's why I think it's so important to talk about this is because often there are people who are not involved in the divorce situation at all who don't get it. They just don't get how
Hmm.
impactful that is and the ripple effect of how that really affects children down the line.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's upsetting for so many reasons, and you've handled it with such grace. But what now, if it's something that could happen to you, Anna, we know that this is happening to other people. Like,
Hmm.
whether it's the ex's girlfriend talking about this, or whether it's the ex's boyfriend posting pictures of the kids, whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
It's happening to families across the world. How do we
Yes.
handle this? What do we do, Anna?
Yeah. Um, there's probably 3 to 5 things I'll want to touch on. One, I think it's important to think about it's hard because the last thing you want to do in these moments is put yourself in the partner's shoe of your ex, the ex's new partner.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I think a lot of people, especially if they don't have children, because you just nailed it on the head, Olivia, they are their number, even if they say they love the kids. I love his kids. I adore them. You don't get it. If you are not a mom or you are not a dad, you don't get it. You just don't. And so you're actually not putting them first by doing all this hullabaloo and, cutting down our co-parenting or whatever. But I have tried to be compassionate, putting myself in her shoes, thinking she's unfortunately tying that to like the security of her romantic partnership with my ex,
Yeah.
and she can't detangle those two things. So I've tried to have compassion for her in that of just like the your ex's new partner or partner feels threatened in some way. This type of behavior of like, over posting online about the kids or showing like, look at how much fun we're having, or buying the kids extravagant gifts that maybe aren't appropriate. It's all in this battle to say, I matter. I matter in this scenario. I'm the new partner. It's coming out of a drive to have some sort of security of like establishing their place in the orbits of your family. Um, and so I'm just trying to think about that a lot. Like somehow she's feeling insecure and she doesn't know how to detangle like what I've got going on in my co-parenting relationship and with my two children from her romantic partnership with my ex. And so that's the number one thing is possibly try to have compassion and realize they're feeling threatened and there's nothing I can do about that, right? Like that's something actually she needs to work out with my ex
Mm-hmm.
and that your ex needs to work out with their new partner. So it's coming out of some sort of
100%.
insecurity.
And this is not a new like my parents were divorced in 1995. My ex stepmother had the same issue. Like this is not
Mhm.
new, like modern day
Yeah.
problem. This has been going on.
Right.
Like let's talk about Cinderella, for example, right? Like this
Right.
has literally been going on
Yes.
since fairy tale books were written, right? So there has been, and it's both men and women, right? This is not we're not
Yes.
saying
Yeah.
stepmother, stepfather. There's often it's a misunderstanding, right? You don't
Yeah.
understand sometimes when you walk into a situation with a partner with kids what that reality is going to be.
Right.
And it's really hard often. And then there's
Mhm.
jealousy and there's resentment and, all of normal, healthy feelings. But if you're really, like you said, Anna, if you're really putting the children first,
Mhm.
then you really need to put the children first. So I
Right.
appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. And you're
Right.
so right.
And then the second thing I would say, just blanket across the board, do not engage in public battles, like under any circumstance. So if you see your ex's partner post something online, post a picture, post, the person you go to immediately is your ex. And ideally, you guys have some modicum of respect for each other. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But, there's a great phrase of like, I don't have to attend every argument I'm invited to. And so if somebody is doing something online, like do not engage. Like that no one will win. There will be losers all around in that scenario. So like I have chosen to not respond to any of the comments online. Of course, in my frustration and initial sadness, honestly, even more than anger, I was like, I'm going to reach out to these podcasters and be like, hey, like it's me. I'm the one you were, da da da. Let me share my side. And then I just elevated out. I reached out to you and other people. And I'm like, I don't reach out, right? Like I don't reach out. No, the answer is do not reach out. So do not engage in public battles. You've got to figure out how to protect your peace and your mental health in this moment. And so if you need to block the person or restrict, and like maybe you think you want to follow that person to keep tabs on what they're doing, but if that is disturbing your daily peace and your mental health, then like you need to think about what do you need? What boundaries do you put in place to protect yourself? But the bigger part is what I said a second ago. If you reach out to your ex, like that's who you reach out to initially and say, hey, I am not okay with this behavior. I don't appreciate, certainly pictures being posted online with your kids without your consent is actually illegal. So they definitely can't do that if you don't want to. Um, and letting them know that the behavior of their partner is disrupting the co-parenting and is like disrupting the ecosystem for your children, and that's not okay. And ideally, if your ex and the co-parent is an elevated, mature, mentally well person, which is not guaranteed, they will agree and say, hey, I'll talk to my ex about that. And
Yep.
so unfortunately, there have been a couple of things that have happened with my ex and his new partner in the last 6 months where he's not really agreed with me and like really pushed back and like fought hard for her position. And in those moments, you just have to let it go because you just have to trust that if you're doing the right thing, if you're putting the kids first, you just have to be bummed out that like they're actually not doing the right thing and that it's actually not okay for a new partner to treat you a certain way or say certain things or do certain things. And it stinks because it's so much harder to let your ego die and to try to elevate out to this like meta level where you're almost levitating because you're so like, I care about the kids. I care about the peace and harmony in my heart, in my home. And I need to be the best version of myself for my children. So I am not going to let this stuff rattle me or shake me. So, what do I know to be true about myself? What are the things that people have told me my whole life that are true about Anna? Because there was a lot of shit said on this podcast about me and my character and my personhood. And like, is that what I'm going to listen to? Or do I have a website that I could look at so many testimonials of people saying how I cared for them and really helped them when they needed it? Or I have parents, I have a new husband, I have kids, I have friends, I have coworkers, like I have so many people that say opposite. So don't let yourself stay in the space if you're getting, unkind words or ugly things said about you or spewed about you, either publicly or privately by this person. Like, this is, I mean, I was joking with a friend recently who's also a divorced mom, and it's like the amount of, like, I'm not sure there's a character experience on planet Earth more than a divorced mom having to elevate above all of this stuff. Like,
Yes.
it's just it's our calling to be our best selves, let things go, die to our ego, die to whatever we feel like, oh, this isn't right, or
Yeah.
that person is wrong, and I can't believe they did this, or I can't believe they said that. You have to let it go because your kids pick up on that energy.
Yes.
If
Well,
you're
this is
walking
yeah.
around pissed off, like, or angry, or you're stewing, like, your kids get that. One of my favorite quotes, Olivia, is by Gwyneth Paltrow when she said, this is years ago, like, kids are on mom Wi-Fi. They are on mom Wi-Fi. Like, they're just so connected to us, our energy, our state of being. So it's such a big job for us to stay elevated and to let things go and to be like a duck and let a drip of water like roll off our back.
Yep.
And it is hard. It's hard. So,
It's so
what I
hard.
encourage all my clients, Olivia, is like, you've got to have little things throughout every day that you do to calm your nervous system. You were just joking about you like to drink your, fruit
My
punch
fruit
or
punch.
lemon water out of a goblet, like little
Yeah.
things that are calming to you or like peaceful to you, like, but even more so, meditation, mantras that you say to yourself. Why is everything always working out for me? Like, the universe supports me and is conspiring to support me
I
in
love
all
that
my
one.
endeavors.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes of breath work, doing
Mhm.
30 minutes of cold water at the end of your shower on your face. There's all these little things that you can do to sort of calm yourself, to self-soothe yourself. So in the moments where you see something online or you hear, I mean, this happens all the time, Olivia, this, like, sometimes your kids will be the one to say,
Mhm.
well, daddy's new girlfriend, Molly, said that blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And you're like, excuse me, what? Like,
Mhm.
I had my kids run in one time saying something. I dated my now husband cross country for 2.5 years. And my son, this is years ago now, 4 years ago, he ran in the house one day saying my ex mother-in-law was like, Mimi says that you're wasting your money. And Mimi says you're having too much fun. And like in that moment, like my eyes got huge and I like wanted to scream, to be like, no one should be talking about my business, my life, what I do on my time when I don't have the children. So in that moment, to be able to just
Yeah.
exhale, not react. I didn't want my son to see me get hot, and just, staying calm,
Yep.
even when sometimes the kids are the ones who are
Yeah,
announcing
and they
the
don't know,
ugly
right?
thing.
Like,
Yeah.
and the thing I was gonna say is that, kids know. Kids
Yes.
know who truly loves and cares for them. Whether they know now when they're 7 years old or when they're 17, the truth always comes out.
Mhm.
So, even though you feel like, maybe you feel like as a mom, I'm sure I felt this way too, like you're giving up a piece of yourself, right, by like floating
Mhm.
above, and you know, that's the best thing that you can do for your kids because they will
Mhm.
find out who had their back and who didn't. Right. And
Mhm.
it's actually people like that. And it's often the family, the ex family, right? Will say
Yeah.
things to the kids. As a kid, I had the same issue. And uh, that's really not okay for the kids, right? That's actually being very
Mhm.
cruel to the children. And
Mhm.
so there's so many things to unpack here, but it sounds like you handled it beautifully. And people are going to always say things, especially when you are somebody that took your heartbreak and pivoted to heal others and help others.
Mhm.
You know that your power lies there. You know that your kids see that, right? And to go on a public platform and talk about that is bold. But
Yeah.
I love what you said, and I think this is a great script. Like, using kind of that therapy, I hate the word term therapy speak, but you know how therapists always say you use the I, right? So it's like, I love what you
Mhm.
said. I feel this is disruptive to the beautiful ecosystem that we've built, right, as
Mhm.
co-parents. Or like, I'm so proud of us as co-parents, and this seems to be disrupting the system that we're building, right? So like, kind of, coming in with appreciation for them, but
Mhm.
also like, and this can't happen anymore, right? So
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, you're right. I statements are so important. Like, I value stability for the children, so this feels like
right,
an unusual attack or an unusual ask, or like when they,
right.
if
But
they wanna
I
come
love
to.
that you turned I love the term ecosystem for a
Mhm.
family And I love that you used that and said, like, this is disruptive to our ecosystem, right? If there was a shark in the water, that would be disruptive to an ecosystem. So you need to
Yes.
be careful, right? And work together the kids are the number one, right? That's what it's
Yes.
all about. Well, we appreciate you sharing so much. And obviously, you're so brilliant and wise with all of this. And I know this ripples over to your clients and all the work that you do with them. So we'll put the link to your Fresh Starts profile, of course, in the show notes for this so people can reach out. But before we let you go, Anna, if somebody's listening to this going through a divorce, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with today?
Yeah. Thanks, Olivia. I really appreciate this conversation and appreciate your kind words you just shared. Um, One of my favorite quotes related to divorce is by Maya Angelou, and it's every rainstorm runs out of rain.
Yeah.
Every rainstorm runs out of rain. And there are moments in divorce where you are so sad and so broken that you feel like you're going to break, or you are breaking into a million pieces, and you are just trying to figure out, how do I take the next breath? How do I take the next step? And in that moment, it feels like the rainstorm is never going to end. But it does. Every rainstorm runs out
Mm.
of rain, and like you can't feel it some of those days and some of those months, but like there is a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, at the end of the rainstorm. If you do the work and heal, if you stay sad, bitter, angry, resentful, you don't get to that. But if you do the work through the process, if you allow yourself to break, to hurt, and then you heal, like there is a beautiful fresh start on the other side. So just because you're feeling so broken now, does not, you won't always feel that way. It won't always feel this hard.
Oh, love it so much. What a way to end. Thank you so much, Anna. We would love to have you come back anytime and chat more about this. It's also nuanced and it's not discussed enough because it's happening behind the scenes of houses. And, I
Yeah.
just appreciate you sharing, right? Like this is real. It's happening. It's
Yeah.
so stressful. It's so disruptive to family life. So we need to talk about it and we need to be able to have these conversations. So I appreciate you being brave and coming on and having this conversation.
Yeah. Thanks, Livia. I appreciate it. Would come back anytime.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.